Hey everyone, welcome to a new video. I hope you had a great day. Let's take a look at some new malicious compliance stories, shall we? The first story is called "We Appreciate Your Hard Work." I worked in the London office of a large, respected and well-known international but US-based organization. They liked to pretend that they were a caring, sharing and benign employer who truly cared about members of the corporate family. And that they only had our best interest at heart while they shafted us. It was the usual: years of pay freezes for us pros, job vacancies unfilled, doubling our workload, essential equipment left obsolete, and such. In the meantime, the bosses gave themselves increasingly huge bonuses, fancy titles, and perks. They were particularly proud of their Corporate Employee Service Recognition Awards scheme. It came with its own dedicated catalog and latterly website. There, on achieving so many years of serfdom, a choice from a new list of appreciative gifts would be lavished upon you, along with a poorly mimeographed certificate of service. I failed to keep a hard copy, which I regret, but certain items we could select remain seared in my memory. 15 years of service, for example, could be rewarded with a ring containing a 0.01 carat black diamond, aka coal. Another option at 25 years could be an orange cast iron skillet. You get the picture. Another was something only available to our US colleagues, for whom there was no mandatory retirement. 60 years of service could earn you the ultimate, a cheap Chinese-made 16-speed racing bicycle. This brings me to our little collective attempt at malicious compliance. It took the company several years to cotton on. But when a home gymnasium setup strangely became available as a 25-year service award, it immediately became the go-to choice of all my worldwide colleagues. Not for any desire for fitness, of course, but because all these things had to be sourced and shipped from the States. Shipping for the scrappy but hugely bulky and heavyweight frame, dumbbells and all the weights to somewhere probably cost the company at the very least 20 times the value of the item. Not to mention the customs duties and import fees. I think this went on for about 5 years before the bean counters clocked it. I missed out on it and had to settle for the orange frying pan to remind me how much they valued my 25 years of servitude. It's mounted on the wall for my grandchildren to revere. The next story is called "Making the Manager Regret His Order." For a while, I worked in customer service for a major life insurance company. I had a customer call in that had just received her check for payment on the policy she had on someone. She called because the policy was for $100,000 and her check was something like $99,850 and she wanted to know why. However, she was one of those people that would ask a question, interrupt you while you were answering, and either ask it again in a different way or go off on some tangent. She wasn't a particularly polite person, and I don't think it was merely because of the situation. It had been a few months and it didn't have a bereavement feel at all, just a rude person vibe. I fully felt that she was just a rude person. Eventually, I managed to give her the answer. We had subtracted a payment that was due that month and not yet paid to us from the payout, evening everything out in one transaction. She didn't really have a problem with that answer, but she was argumentative the entire call in general and complaining how much of a pain it is to have to call in with all these questions. But those were all but one irrelevant questions that she brought up when she wouldn't let me answer. But as I was trying to get there, she was also asking all kinds of questions about her policy, which she had in front of her. She went off on many topics, including a bunch of things not related to what we were doing. She asked about, what's this type A policy and type B policy? Well, those were about options you could get on the policy when you first took it out, but she didn't get either one. So they were completely irrelevant to that, but I gave her quick answers as to what they were, even though they didn't apply to her. This call took a solid hour to give a 3-minute answer, and she was rude and angry the whole way through. I was very happy when it was over. However, 2 days later, my manager told me that he had reviewed the call for random quality control purposes. And he noticed that when she asked about irrelevant policy option she didn't have A and irrelevant policy option she didn't have B, I gave the answers backward, explained B for A and A for B. He wanted me to call her back and give her the right answers. This was utterly pointless as she already had her policy completed and closed. She wasn't looking to get a new one. This could not have affected her payout, anything whatsoever. But he was convinced we would somehow get sued or such if I didn't. Now, what makes this malicious compliance is that I knew that I could just email my manager a half hour later, say I did it, and she was happy to hear from me. I knew he wouldn't follow up because he constantly gave us stupid things to do and never followed up. But this woman was a handful, and I also knew she wouldn't want me to call. So I did as told and called her. I told her why I was calling and she snapped on me. Why would I possibly call her back about things that don't matter? I'm taking up her valuable time after she's already been paid. She doesn't deal with our company anymore, and here I am calling her unsolicited. You get the idea. I told her that my manager wanted to make sure she had all the details correct because I made a mistake. And as hoped, she demanded to speak to my manager. She yelled at him for about 94 minutes by my clock about wasting her time. I'd like to be able to say that he learned a lesson and stopped giving us stupid tests, but he didn't. But for an hour and a half he had a really rude woman scream at him over this one. The third story is called Free Netflix. Between 8 and 10 years ago I received an email welcoming me to Netflix. That was a bit concerning since I hadn't signed up, so I contacted the company. They told me that someone must have accidentally used my email when they created an account. Our last names were the same and our first initial. So I said, "Oh, no problem, you must have additional contact information for them besides my email. Could you please remove my email from the account and let them know so they can fix it?" Well, immediately that was a big problem for Netflix, and well, no, they couldn't remove the email because it was the only one they had for the account, and how did they even know that it was mine? I said, "Give me your email address and start talking. I will email you the words as they come out of your mouth." That wasn't good enough for proof somehow. More likely, I was in the other person's Gmail account asking to not have Netflix. What they finally ended up doing was changing the account password so that when the customer went to log back in, they wouldn't be able to and would need to do a password reset by calling Netflix, and then they would confirm the email address. I kept getting Netflix emails, so that didn't work. I called again, same again, didn't work. I changed the password several times myself because I could use the forget password function and get an email to reset it, but that didn't work. I don't know how they kept getting the new password without updating an email address, and I didn't really care at this point. For the last 8 to 10 years, I have had Netflix on everything I own. I've signed in on hotel televisions, used it on my phone, my Xboxes, even my kid uses it. I only ever signed in under Family and told him to do the same. The entire history in Family is us. The other logins, Fred, Softy and Lila, accumulated history. I would occasionally look because I was curious, but never did a single new show appear in the Family watch history that wasn't because of me. Well, I woke up this morning to an email from Netflix telling me that this email address was no longer associated with that account and if I had any questions. Thank you, Softy. It has been an amazing run and I am not sure why you gave me free Netflix for the last decade, but I think you are amazing. The last story is called Store Manager Wouldn't Accept My Check. This was back around 1996 or 97. I went into what was, at the time, a major computer and electronics store. I had my heart set on buying a particular laptop. I had done my research and they had the exact one I wanted. It was a Saturday and I was looking forward to spending Sunday getting it all ready to take to work Monday. Our company only provided desktop computers, and having a laptop meant I could take work home with me and not have to remote in as much over dial-up modem and waste time downloading things. I could already envision how I would become the very model of productivity. I picked up the laptop, plus the laptop bag, Ethernet card and modem card. The total price for everything was around $2,800. This was back when large purchases were still routinely made by check. Stores would validate that checks were good electronically with services like CheckFax, similar to the way credit card transactions are validated through MasterCard, Visa or Amex. Well, the store's modem was down and they could not connect to whatever system they used to validate checks. I had a debit card, but back then there was like a $200 daily limit on how much you could charge on your debit card. I told the store manager that there was a number for my bank you could call. It was conveniently on the back of my debit card. And they would provide verbal authorization over the phone. The salesperson who would get a commission for the sale already had the bank on the line. But the store manager flat out refused to accept a check authorization unless it came through the system, which was down. He said he would not take my check and I would have to come back on Monday when the system was working again. No matter how much I and the salesperson tried to reason with him, he was not going to budge. Now, normally, this would have steamed me so much that I would have taken my business elsewhere. But I really wanted the laptop and they were the only store in town that carried it. And I didn't want to wait for the mail order, I wanted my new toy. So if he didn't want to take my check, fine. I would pay in cash, lots of it. On Monday I went to my bank and said I wanted to withdraw $2,800 in $1 bills. I thought about asking for quarters, but figured no one would have that many quarters on hand. The teller asked me why I needed so many ones, just out of curiosity. I told her exactly what I was planning to do with them. And she was completely on board with it. But that branch didn't have that many ones, they had about half. The teller called ahead to the downtown branch and they said they had the rest. She told them why I needed all the ones and they got a big kick out of it as well. Even though the tellers had to unbundle all the ones and run them through a counting machine, they were more than happy to do so. The money filled up 2 medium-sized brown paper bags. They were all nicely bundled in bricks of $100 each. I drove to the store and, in the parking lot, I removed the vans that held the bricks of cash together. I stuffed the now loose bills back in their brown paper bags. I then walked in and found the same salesperson from that Saturday and confirmed with him that the same store manager was working that day. I had him pull the same stuff as before. I then showed him what was in the 2 brown paper bags I was carrying and told him to call the manager. The manager was not too pleased when I started carefully as to not lose any bills, dumping the $1 bills out on the customer service desk counter. I reminded him that he said my checks were no good, so I brought cash. He threatened to not accept all those ones, but the salesperson immediately jumped in on my behalf. He really wanted that commission, I guess. Now, unlike the bank, they did not have a money counting machine. Every available employee, including the store manager and the salesperson, had to get behind the customer service counter and start counting ones. The store manager was really mad. The salesperson was not. He was actually happy about it. Commission, I'm guessing again. The other employees were, shall we say, ranging between annoyed and peeved. It took them quite a while to count it all. I then dropped the precise change on the counter to complete the sale price, 82 cents. As I was leaving with my new toys, I asked the store manager if he was going to give me any more trouble about taking my checks in the future. I did not wait around for his reply. About a month later, a friend of mine stopped in the same store. He said to one of the salespersons that he was a friend of mine and if he knew about what had happened. The salesperson just happened to be the same salesperson who sold me my laptop. He said that it had actually turned out to be kind of convenient. They had put all those ones in the safe and ever since they had not had to send anyone to their bank once to pick up $1 bills to make change. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like, comment and subscribe to the channel for more content. Let me know what you think about the video in the comment section below. Have a great day. Bye bye.